Emma sat alone in her dimly lit apartment, the glow from her phone screen casting faint shadows across her face. The quiet hum of the refrigerator was the only sound breaking the silence of the room. It was nearly midnight and her eyelids grew heavy. Just as she was about to drift off, her phone buzzed. 1:59 a.m. A message appeared from an unknown number. 5 minutes. Emma frowned, squinting at the text. She didn't recognize the number. She replied, "Who is this?" But got no response. Shaking her head, she dismissed it as some prank or a wrong number. But then another message arrived, this time with a simple, chilling update. 4 minutes. Her stomach churned. She glanced around her darkened apartment, feeling an unsettling twinge in her gut. The silence seemed to press in on her, thicker, heavier. She was alone, yet she had the feeling of being watched. The refrigerator's hum was gone now, and the air felt still, too still. Then another text. 3 minutes. Emma's heartbeat quickened. She locked the doors and checked the windows, her fingers fumbling with the blinds. She was on the 3rd floor. No one could have entered without her hearing something. She told herself to calm down, but as she moved, she caught sight of something in her peripheral vision. Her breath hitched. There, in the corner of the living room, was a figure cloaked in shadow. A cold sweat prickled her skin. She tried to focus on it, but as she turned to face the corner fully, there was nothing there, only the familiar outline of her armchair. She laughed nervously, shaking her head. "I'm just tired. Just tired," she repeated to herself. But her phone buzzed again. 2 minutes. She gripped her phone tightly, her fingers digging into the edges. The lights in the room flickered, casting their shadowed corners into the interior darkness. She tried calling her best friend, but the line was dead. Every dial tone seemed to echo through the silent apartment, swallowed by the growing feeling of dread. She checked the corner of the room again, almost certain she could see a faint outline, something or someone that didn't belong. Her hand trembled, and the phone slipped, clattering to the floor. In the silence that followed, she could have sworn she heard a soft, slow exhale just inches away from her ear. Emma was frozen, too scared to reach down for her phone. The minutes dragged on painfully. Then another buzz shattered the silence. 1 minute. She forced herself to pick up the phone. Her fingers shook as she read the message, a strangled gasp escaping her lips. She turned slowly, her back pressed against the wall, her gaze locked on that corner of the room. The figure wasn't in the shadows anymore. It was standing directly across from her, bathed in the weak light of her phone. Its face was ghastly pale, stretched thin with an unnatural smile that seemed etched into its skin. Dark, hollow eyes bored into her, and it was as if they sucked the light from the room itself. Emma's legs felt like lead, her mind screaming for her to run, but her body refused to move. The final buzz pierced the silence. "Time's up." The lights went out, plunging the room into darkness. Emma's breath was loud in her own ears, but it was quickly drowned out by the soft sound of footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming closer. Her phone was her only source of light now, casting just enough glow to reveal the figure moving toward her, inch by inch. She wanted to scream, but her voice failed her. The footsteps stopped, and for a moment, there was silence again. Then, just inches from her face, the figure whispered in a voice that seemed to crawl under her skin. "I've been watching you for a long time." Before she could react, a cold hand reached out, brushing against her cheek. Her phone slipped from her grasp, clattering to the floor and casting one last flicker of light that illuminated the figure's hollow, grinning face. And then, everything went dark. When the police arrived the next morning, they found her phone lying on the floor, the screen shattered. There were no signs of forced entry, no clues as to what had happened. Emma was simply gone. All that remained was a message on her phone, a single final timestamp, 2:04 a.m.